So as a longtime lurker in the skeptic community, I've noticed that there's something kind of strange going on. And most notably, it happened with Computing Forever recently, where he was very, very for the inclusion of women into the skeptic community. And he seems to be quite happy about this, despite the challenges that it faces, and despite the fact that when trying to decide how it's good, he basically made the case that more women entering into the skeptical community means that it's becoming mainstream. That rather than challenging the edges of human knowledge, uh, the inclusion of women here rather means that skepticism is becoming the way of life for more and more people. Um, I've actually developed a recent issue with the skeptic community when it comes to feminism, in that oftentimes they will be presented with the dictionary definition of feminism. And almost universally, when presented with feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes, they will support this. That's insane. I mean, to stand by that definition, you basically got to say that you should treat cats and dogs the same. They're equal. You should treat apples and oranges the same. They're equal. The central premise of feminism, that there is equality between the sexes, is observably wrong. Men do not get pregnant. They don't menstruate. Women don't get erections. Like the central tenet of feminism, the thing that they have managed to get into dictionaries, the skeptical community just all stands for and says, yes, okay, I agree with this, but it's wrong. It's false. It is observably false. It doesn't take much effort to show that men and women are different. Why the skeptical community does not stand up against this, does not say, okay, look, the dictionary definition of feminism is actually inaccurate. It is wrong. They're not skeptical. They skip over the fact that the central premise of this thing is incorrect, instead choosing to conflate with a single point that they themselves don't agree with. But of course that single point can't be true. The central premise of the entire thing is wrong. But the skeptical community agrees with that central premise. They're not very skeptical. What they are, or rather, they're not skeptical of feminism anymore. They've moved on. Instead, what they're skeptical of now seems to be each other. They've given up on criticizing our community. They've moved into political commentary and watching Sargon pick at Jeremy Corbyn is entertaining, don't get me wrong. It's not overly skeptical. I mean, the failings of Corbyn's political ideology are so well known that to simply put a picture of him and say, hey, he's a Marxist, is enough. There's no reason to make hour-long videos picking at him. He's a Marxist. We know what he's going to say. In fact, it's actually entertaining when you watch Sargon do these things, because oftentimes he will stop in the middle and say exactly what Jeremy Corbyn is going to say. You know it. You know what he's going to say. You know his ideological stance. There's nothing else to it. And to see the skeptical community fall to such a degree, to see it basically just give in to repeating mainstream talking points, to watch it just jump into the arena of power politics and start playing that game as though it is just another political party. And again, one that is more than willing to agree with falsehoods if they agree with them ideologically. It's disheartening. who are we supposed to go to now that even the skeptical community has largely given up? It never even finished. It never even started with its original topic. I mean, we're seeing all of these new people show up and say, ooh, down with feminism. Oh, these third wave feminists are so bad. Well, the first and second waves were no cherries either here. Again, the central premise is wrong. All of it needs to be rethought. We don't know where we go with regards to it because it's just wrong. It needs to be undone, or at least rather large portions of it. I mean, I know in the MGTOW community oftentimes women's vote seems to be a central issue. Personally, and as somebody who's approached the MGTOW community in a different manner than most people, I'm not a divorced man. I have had a number of less than fantastic experiences dating women, but I've generally taken the approach that since I am the commonality in all of those relationships, that I should be the one to be avoiding the dating market. I ended up in the MGTOW community largely due to my fascination with economic matters. I wanted to know where income inequality and wage stagnation were coming from. And after 4 or 5 years of desperately trying to investigate this situation, I ended up finding that this feminism thing was causing some serious issues, and we needed to talk about it. To find that one of the few communities where this sort of discussion was valid, where it would even be accepted, basically turning its back on what made it what it is today, it's so disheartening. There's not another word for it. It's like the death of hope to see a group of, and I mean the numbers are growing, but the more the numbers grow, the less valid the criticisms of the community seem to be. How do you fight that? How do you fight something that once you reach critical mass, you stop being worthwhile? I don't know where I stand on this issue. It's a very difficult situation. Has the skeptical community outlived its usefulness? Has it just fallen into never-ending drama between itself? And, well, this is what people want to watch, so yeah. But, I mean, if you're going to make that case, then those activist disciplines, the gender studies degrees, well, those need to stay around because they're what people want to take. I mean, it's always actually kind of been a side interesting note to me that when it comes to the issues with our universities, a lot of people want to defund these disciplines, but they don't seem to understand that the vast majority of the funding is centered around how many students want to take them. If you want to defund gender studies majors, you need to convince a whole mess of students that taking gender studies majors is stupid. You're not going to do that. They believe gender studies majors are great things because of who they are. I mean, Jordan Peterson has this great thing that there's certain parts of your personality that will tell us what kind of things you're likely to do. And this is one of those things. I mean, we know who's going to take a gender studies major. We can look at the numbers. We know the makeup of a gender studies or an African American studies classes. We know it's overwhelmingly women who take these classes. And if you want to get rid of them, you've basically got to discourage women from taking them. And so long as women are going to these schools, they're going to be encouraged to take them. It's amazing to watch a community that has such an issue with something just skip over the reality. Just ignore the reality. Men and women are equal, maybe as human beings, but not as complete beings. There are human rights, but in addition to that, there If you're going to get into the domain of feminism and women's rights, then if there are going to be women's rights, you need there to be men's rights as well, and human rights. You need to do all three. You can't just collapse the duality of male and female into human. The distinction exists for an important reason. I mean, without that distinction, the human race literally can't survive. There's no next generation. It's just, what is wrong with the skeptical community? To think that through, God, they've been attacking feminism for what, 8, 10 years now, nobody has mentioned that the central premise is wrong. It's too sacred of a cow. It cannot be touched. It is our idol. Cast it aside, guys. Throw feminism to the dogs where it belongs. I'm going to end with the comment I ended up leaving on Computing Forever's channel as to my opinion of more and more women entering into the skeptical community. You are missing the appeal of being a member of a cutting-edge community. Something of a surprise for someone whose channel started originally reviewing new technology. The appearance of women in the community, as you say, means the community is becoming mainstream. If this happens, it will no longer be a place to create and criticize new ideas, but rather a never-ending storm of mulling over the same ideas and distilling them to be fed to the lowest common denominator. If you are interested in the form of ideas, women appearing in your community is great. If you are interested in the function of ideas, women appearing in your community is the death knell. Just compare the female-dominated fields in academia to the fields currently undergoing a crisis of replicability. Worse, many members of the manosphere in particular are there precisely because it is one of the few intellectual spaces where men can interact exclusively with other men. Few and far between are the all-male clubs of yesteryear. The influx of women has denied these men the space to express themselves free of many of the restrictive consequences of women entering into a community. Using the metaphor from the video, the men built a house to get away from the women from the bit, but the women have moved in anyway. The men now have to build another house, and they know the same damn thing is going to happen when they do. There's no longer a frontier for these men to retreat to. In Jordan Peterson's speak, do you want to seek the treasure and slay the dragon, or do you want to escape the underworld and stay with the princess? There is a duality between male and female, and we have collapsed it at our peril. The mainstreaming of the community may mean it has won the culture war, but it also means it has largely been made irrelevant. The only thing of interest now is what curtains are in the house's window, not the house itself. If you are concerned about the foundation of the community, it is now in peril, hidden behind wallpaper and drapes, for being too ugly.